If you're out there running a nonprofit, a school, any kind of community program, and you just feel like you've hit a wall, this is for you. We're going to talk about a total redesign, a new architecture, really, for creating spaces where people can actually heal and grow. And it's all grounded in this idea of trauma-responsive design. Does that sound familiar? You're putting in all the work, all the hours, you're giving it everything you've got, but the needle just isn't moving. You're stuck. And man, is that a frustrating feeling? It leads straight to burnout, right? You care so deeply. You pour your heart and soul into the people you're trying to help, but that change you're working for, it just doesn't seem to take. And you start asking yourself, is it me? Is it the program? What is going on here?
Well, the material we're digging into today makes a really powerful argument. It says that so many well-intentioned programs fail because they're built on a fundamental misunderstanding of human behavior, especially when that behavior has been shaped by trauma and adversity.
This right here, this slide, is the whole reframe. It changes everything. Look at that first row. Traditionally, we see a kid who's being aggressive, and we slap a label on it, disrespectful. But what if what's really happening is that aggression is a shield against a feeling of shame that is just too much to bear? Or look at the second row. We see someone pushing boundaries, and we call them manipulative. But what if they're not manipulating? What if they're desperately testing you, hoping that this time, this adult will finally be safe? It's a total shift in perspective. So to really get this, we have to stop just looking at the behavior on the outside and start looking at the biology on the inside. Seriously, once you understand what's happening in the brain, everything starts to click. Okay, so let's keep it simple. Think of your brain as having a couple of key parts. You've got the part up top, the neocortex. We can call that the thinking brain. This is the CEO, right? It's in charge of logic, planning for the future, controlling your impulses. It's the part of the brain that we're usually trying to talk to in our programs. But then, underneath all that, you have the survival brain. This is your body's alarm system. Its one and only job is to sniff out danger and keep you alive. It handles all those intense, gut-level emotions and that classic fight or flight response. And here it is. This is the most important part. When a person with a history of trauma even perceives a threat, and that could be anything, a loud noise, a dirty look, the survival brain stages a coup. It hijacks the whole system. Blood flow, oxygen, all the good stuff is literally pulled away from the thinking brain and sent to the muscles to get ready to run or fight. This is exactly why our usual methods don't work. Trying to have a logical conversation with someone whose thinking brain is offline, it's impossible. It's like trying to reason with someone who's drowning. They literally can't hear you. So what does that mean for you? It means every minute you spend trying to teach a lesson to a dysregulated person is a minute wasted. Your first job, your only job, is to help them feel safe. So when we see these challenging behaviors, it's so rarely a bad choice or a moral failing. It's a brain and a body doing exactly what they learned to do to survive. It's just neurobiology. And that understanding, that simple fact, changes the game. It shifts us from thinking this person is giving me a hard time to realizing this person is having a hard time. Okay, so if the problem is a brain hijacked, what's the solution? We've just established we can't just talk our way out of it. So instead, we have to design our way out of it. We have to be architects. So let's look at the blueprint. The source material lays out these 4 core principles that are basically the foundation for everything else. These aren't just nice ideas, they're the pillars. First, you've got to recognize that relationships are how change happens, period. Second, you have to see the whole person, not just their list of problems. That means their strengths, their culture, their story. Third, you have to intentionally create what are called holding environments. We'll get to that. And fourth, and this one is so often missed, you have to take care of the people doing the work. I mean, the research is just beyond clear on this point. The active ingredient that actually creates lasting change, it's not your fancy workbook, it's not your curriculum, it's the quality of the relationships you build. Why? Well, think about it. Trauma almost always happens in the context of a relationship, so healing has to happen there too. It happens by creating new, safe, and trusting connections. So, how do we actually create a space where those kinds of healing relationships can even grow? This brings us to one of the most powerful concepts in all of program design, the holding environment. So, what is a holding environment? It's basically a psychological space that is safe enough for someone to let their guard down and be vulnerable, but it's also structured enough to push them to grow. It's all about finding that perfect intentional balance between really high support and really high challenge. This matrix just lays it out so perfectly. Take a look at the top left. High support, but low challenge. What do you get? Stagnation. Everyone's comfortable, but nobody's growing. Now look at the bottom right. High challenge, but low support. That's a recipe for overwhelm, anxiety, and failure. The magic, the sweet spot, is that top right corner, the holding environment. That's where you can say, I believe in you, I know you can do this really hard thing, and I'm going to be right here with you the whole way. But, and this is a huge but, none of this works if people don't feel safe. And we're not just talking about physical safety, we're talking about emotional safety, a space free from shame. And we're talking about identity safety, where people's culture, race, and who they are is seen and celebrated. This is absolutely critical, especially when the very institutions meant to help have so often been sources of harm. Okay, so we've talked about the brain, and we've talked about the environment we need to build. But there's one more piece to this architecture, and it's maybe the most important one of all. It's you. It's the person delivering the program. And this one can be a hard truth to swallow. A program's quality can never, ever be better than the well-being of its staff. If your team is burned out, unsupported, and dysregulated themselves, they simply cannot create a healing, trauma-responsive space. Your team's capacity isn't a nice-to-have. It is the absolute ceiling on how effective your program can be. And that leads to this. Let this one really sink in for a minute. You are the intervention. The curriculum isn't just the binder on the shelf. The real curriculum is how you handle your own stress when things get tough. It's how you repair a relationship after you mess up. It's how you model being a regulated, resilient human being. You just can't lead someone to a place of healing that you haven't been to yourself. So as we wrap this up, I want you to take this question back to your work, back to your team. Looking at your program like an architect through this new lens, what is the one fundamental thing, the one beam or foundation that needs to change so that healing can finally truly take root?